Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. Welcome to the, dare I say, WalkAway. Happy Halloween, WalkAway, holiday extravaganza, Halloween extravaganza. As many of you probably know, if you're kind of following the trajectory of everything that's happening with WalkAway, I barely have a moment to breathe anymore, let alone go out and buy a Halloween costume. And if I had time, I really, really wanted to dress as Scott Pressler tonight. You want to know why? Because I do a really good Scott Pressler impression. So can you just picture me right now with long hair and like in a rocker t-shirt and boots? Hi everyone, it's me, Scott Pressler, and we're gonna go clean up Baltimore. Did you know, this is a movement of love. I love Scott Pressler. He's such a good guy. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming out tonight. I don't want to take up too much time because we have a great program. Thank you so much to Liz Harris and all of the amazing people who put this party together. Thank you. They worked really, really hard, and I just showed up. So they deserve all the praise and all the applause. You know, I just want to say 1 year ago at this time, tomorrow actually, was the gala dinner the night before the WalkAway March on Washington. That was 1 year ago. In 2 days, it will be the 1 year anniversary of the WalkAway March on Washington. Can you believe that? Raise your hand if you were there. Well, that's good. That's really good. Awesome. So since we did the March on Washington, a couple of things happened. Number one, even before the march, we had an enormous amount of people get in touch with us and say, I really would love to come to your March on Washington, but I didn't walk away. And I was like, you can still come. So I think a lot of people didn't understand that this wasn't just for people who walked away from the Democrat Party, because WalkAway is a movement for everybody. It's bringing you Americans together, regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender. It's a movement of love for all people. The walk withs are just as valuable and needed in this movement. But we recognized the flaw with the marketing in the WalkAway March on Washington. The second thing that happened was so many people said, please do another march, because we didn't get to come to the first one, or we did come to the first one, it was amazing, we can't wait for the next one. When is the next one? When is the next one? Well, I'm here tonight to show you a 1 minute and 30-second video that I would like you to see. And who do I have to prompt to make that happen? Sir, this is for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Yes, girl.
Oh, the land of the free and the home
right? Yes, sorry. These days I just need to be told what to do minute by minute by minute by minute. So we're going to do panels of some conversations tonight about really, really interesting topics. It's going to be super fun. I think you guys are going to love this. Things that I think are really important in our culture, in our society right now, and going into this 2020 election. These are really important factors and issues that I think that need to be discussed. And the very first one, I would like to call up to the stage a good friend of mine. She was a little bit late tonight because she actually had to shave some of her eyebrow to just get the unibrow. And that's Joy Vila. She's actually much hairier than this. No, she really does look so. You look so much like Frida Kahlo. It's really uncanny. So Joy,
Thank you.
tonight, you and I are going to be talking about identity politics and the dangers of identity politics.
Right.
One of the things I think is so fascinating about this topic is defining the term itself. And that's where I would like to start the discussion, because I think this is different for everybody, and I think it's important to kind of get that straight.
Yeah.
What does identity politics mean to you?
It's such a good question, because we hear that word thrown around. And identity politics is basically when you're voting by what you identify with, or you are using your politics to basically stand by what you identify with or what you are, which is if you're black, or you're a woman, or you're gay, or you're from New York, or whatever, and you're voting for people who carry those things rather than voting on values, integrity, what are they going to do for your country, do for you, for your family. So it's very much the leftist ideology right now. Oh, she has a vagina, so I'm going to vote for her because I also have one.
Yeah.
What?
Right. So the reason why I feel like it's important to define this term is because since I've become a conservative, which is basically around 2017, when I switched sides, identity politics is, I think, in my opinion, one of the most misunderstood concepts. Everybody sees it a little bit differently, and this is where I would like conservatives to get more on the same page with this, because, for instance, I hear conservatives getting upset about things like, well, they just invited all those black people to the White House. That's identity politics. Right. No, it's not. You guys, no, it's not. So this is my definition of identity politics.
Yeah, please.
The way I define identity politics is when one uses an identifying quality like their race, their gender, their sexual orientation as a tool or a wedge in which to attain leverage to use against somebody or to make a political point. In other words, I'm gay and you're straight, so you're not allowed to talk or have an opinion because we're talking about a certain issue and you don't have a right to. The color of your skin, you're white and you're black, so you don't have a right to have an opinion because you're white. It's when you're using your identity as a political wedge against people, and that's where the problem lies, I think.
I agree. That's a really good definition.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a dangerous thing. It's not just, oh, I want more women in office, so I'm going to vote women in. That's not identity politics if they're good women.
That's right.
But if you, like you said, that dangerous aspect to it, that's why it's so bad. That's why we fight against it.
Right. And I think the reason why I'm kind of sensitive to getting everybody on the same page is because I see like the conflict that kind of arises within the conservative community when people say, well, if we're against identity politics, why are you doing events for the black community? Why are you doing events for the Hispanic community? It's because these groups are being targeted by the Democrat Party and they're being marketed to. And we have got to counter that somehow if we ever want to have any hope of bringing these people over to our side.
Amen. The Democrats did it for years. That's why there's so many black and brown and Asian people that vote Democrat, straight party. Right. My mom, my whole family on my mom's side is black American and my dad's side is Italian and Argentinian, right? And they all voted Democrat, straight ticket.
Right.
Because those are the only people that reached out to them in their community. And let's be real, there are certain things in those communities, in my community, that's going to be different from someone else's community.
Exactly.
Filipino community is going to be different than whatever another community. That's not identity politics, that's being realistic.
Right.
And finding reality. Reality politics is what we should be in as conservatives.
I like that.
Let's find some reality, common
reality
ground.
The one thing I think the Democrats have done well is identifying that this is a factor and going in and talking with these communities. Now, that's where I draw the line, because what they're saying to them is a lie. You know, the media and the Democrat Party, I think, is manipulating. Whether you're black, brown, LGBT, they're manipulating fear, telling people the Republican Party hates you, you don't have a place, the only place that you're safe is here with us on the left. Yeah. And meanwhile, Republicans aren't talking to these people at all.
Exactly. So it's basically proving their point.
Right.
Which is not truth, but if somebody says, hey, by the way, Brandon, that guy over there, he's a racist, and that guy never talks to you, that guy's a homophobe, you will be like, I guess he's a racist homophobe.
We don't even have to imagine the situation. That's what happened. That's why I wasn't a Republican my whole life.
Right. Yeah. And then you meet him, and if he actually says, hey, by the way, this is my name, this is who I am, and you humanize, and he humanizes you, then it completely dispels that argument. That's why as conservatives, we have to reach out to communities that would normally hate us, think we're racist, homophobic, blah, blah, blah. That's why we are leading this new face of conservative people, right? That's why this WalkAway movement is so extraordinary, because in this room, look how different we look from one another. I see different ages, different socioeconomic backgrounds. I mean, all of us look different, and yet we have the same common ground. We have the same values. We want the best. We want safety. We want a country that supports people like us to be able to work and provide for our families. You know, we want a government that's run for the people, by the people. We just want our basic rights back. Right. Not based on color, not based on gender, not based on any of those things.
And since the topic is the dangers of identity politics, I think one of the key dangers of this structure that exists in our society is that these various groups, again, whether it be black, brown, LGBT, are constantly being told that they are victims in this country and that they don't have a chance, that they don't have a fighting chance, that they cannot succeed. Now imagine if you spent your entire life being told that every failure that you have in your life is somebody else's fault. That, no, I mean really, honestly, everybody fails. Everybody fails. Right. But for some of us, you know, and I'm gonna, for the moment, I'm gonna wear the white card. As a white man, no one ever told me that my failures were another race's fault. I was just told, you failed, you need to do better next time. Right. You need to try harder. You need to work harder. You need to learn more if you're going to succeed next time. Now imagine if that wasn't the message you were getting. It was just, well, you know, they're out to get you. And that's why this happened. That's why this happened.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what, listen, I wasn't raised with that attitude, thank God. My dad actually was a conservative. And I was raised in a very strict, conservative Christian household. But my mom was like non-political, but she was raised Democrat, right? I wasn't told to play the victim card. That's why I'm so strong today. And trust me, I have plenty of instances. I could go backtrack and go, wait, I was victimized then. Wait, it was because of this. Wait, I mean, you can play that. Anyone can. Sure. But if you're told that, like the talk, right? A lot of African Americans give their sons or their daughters the talk. You guys know what that is?
No.
So that is, listen, let's say you're my son, young black boy. Imagine Brandon as a young black boy.
That's how I identify.
So I say, listen, son, you're black. If you haven't noticed, the world is against you. So when you go out there, police officers are not your friends. You're going to get stopped. They're going to look at you like you're a gangbanger. They're going to look at you like you're going to steal and rape their women. You're a young black man. The world is against you. Never forget that. That's the talk. It's basically the talk. I mean, how many people know what I'm talking about? Any black people in this place? Okay, you guys know. Awesome. I'm like, we got any black people up in here? So, I mean, WalkAway, come on now. But that's it's racist. It's setting somebody up for failure.
Right.
It's like women get that too, right? You know, it's misogynistic these days. So you don't have to get married. You don't have to find a man. You don't need a man to do anything for you. You're a strong, independent woman. Well, guess what? Now these strong, independent women growing up in this hashtag girl power, blah, 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 are unmarried at 35 and miserable. Yeah. Because they were told they don't need a man. But guess what? We do need men. As a feminine female, I do need men. Right. And I like them. Sorry.
Women get all kinds of mixed messages. I think of all the different identity groups that exist out there. I look at women sometimes and I say, God, this is really rough, because women are constantly told that if they make the choice to be a housewife or a mother, that they've caved into the system.
They failed.
They failed because
We should have done you, girl. What about your career?
Right.
But the problem is, if you go into a high-powered career, many women, like if you go into, and this is not bad. I encourage women to go into high-powered careers, but you should get married first. This is conservative values that I'm probably going to get lambasted for, more death threats on social media. But whatever, bring them on. But you should get married first if you want to go into a high-powered career, because what's going to happen is if you become a surgeon as a female, you're going to go to school for like 18 years almost, right? It's a lot of school. And then you're going to graduate and you're going to be working your high-powered job. And then you're going to be like 35, 36, and you're going to be like, oh, I want to have kids and get married now. But who are you going to marry? Another surgeon, maybe? You're already so powerful, you're going to have to find someone who's below you who also wants to have kids around your age. It's harder. The pool starts getting smaller and smaller. Unfortunately, as women, we do have a time limit on how long we can have kids, biologically. Now, if you say, I'm going to do that, and at 40, I'm going to adopt kids no matter what, that's perfectly fine. But most women don't want that. They want the family life, and yet we're ostracized for that. We're told, don't get married, go play the field, have sex with as many guys as you want, who cares, right? Be empowered as a woman. By giving it away to anyone who wants it, that's not empowering.
No.
I lived that sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I wanted to die. That was the very furthest thing from empowering.
You and I have that in common.
Yes. That's why we're only
Joy
drinking
and I
water
have
up
both lived
here.
the sex, drugs, and life and rock and roll lifestyle.
We're only drinking water up here. That's why.
That's right. But we're both sober. Am I allowed to say that about you publicly?
You can spread it out.
Yeah.
There.
Joy and I are both sober people. Yeah. No. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I feel like of all the different identity groups and the messages that they get, women, it's pretty brutal, because it seems from an outsider looking in at what women, the messaging that they get, it's like nothing is ever good enough. You're never making enough money. Yeah. God forbid if you choose to be a housewife or a stay-at-home mom. But it's like the messaging is always, you should be men are making more money. Men are making more money. Men are, it's like you must never feel like it's good enough.
You know what? I'm like, let the men make more money, because they're the ones slaving away, working 12-hour days while we can sit back, have a pedicure, go to the spa. Am I right, ladies? I mean, I want to get pregnant. I want to have a baby. That's a lot of work. So let him go out there. I'll just grow the baby, And that doesn't make me less empowered. It's something like, obviously, as a woman, you can choose what life you want. But if I want to go out there and be a badass, which I do, I'm an independent artist, and I make my own money, and I can, afford a really amazing lifestyle. Yes. But I also have hopes and dreams of having kids one day. So that means I am going to have to marry a man, and I am going to want him to be able to provide for me, and I can provide for myself. It's not a bad thing, and I want him to work hard. Men should chase and provide and be strong and manly. We used to encourage men to go out there, slay the dragons, and bring back the heads, to our cave that we decorated so nicely.
The gender roles have gotten so sloppy, and I mean, there's such an encouragement by the liberal left of kind of feminizing men while masculinizing women in a way.
Totally. And it's left us completely confused. Yeah. Millennials are so confused. I don't know what I want anymore. I have a gender studies degree, and I'm 29, and I hate my life.
Yeah. And as a gay man, I've always hated my dating pool. Always. But now I don't even have straight men to fantasize about, because they're just as terrible.
Hi, Brandon.
Yeah. They're awful. All right, look, we've got a couple more minutes left of this conversation. I don't like to just talk about problems. I like to talk about solutions.
I like that.
So why don't we talk about what are some solutions that we as conservatives can look toward for the identity politics problems that exist in America?
It starts within each individual. It starts within first, attending events like this and putting your power and your dollars behind people like Brandon Straka and the WalkAwayCampaign.com. Come on now.
I didn't even tell her to say that.
donate your dollar bills.
Yeah.
Like, uh-oh, it's fundraising part now. No, but seriously, that keeps this going. And this is a movement that is turning people over to realizing that they don't have to vote straight ticket Democrat and that, their voice actually does matter. So first of all, it's you voting, obviously, with your conscience, not with your body and whatever, identity politics. And then it's supporting those who are pushing the message out for freedom, for real freedom, like WalkAway, like Brandon, like the team here, like you guys who are here, amazing congressmen, congresswomen, everyone who's here. And it's also speaking out. You may not wear a Trump dress to the Grammys.
But you should.
Stop. Just kidding, don't stop.
Closing
But
10 seconds. Joy.
Wait, I have more. You may not wear a pro-life dress to the Grammys. Thank you. But what you can do is speak up, share those memes, vote Trump 2020, and have conversations with your liberal friends. Don't do to them what they do to you. I hear so many conservatives go, oh, liberals. I'm like, listen, I was a liberal. You were a liberal.
Yeah.
A liberal is just a conservative waiting to have a great conversation with a great conservative. Turn them. Turn them.
I'm stealing that for our next T-shirt.
20%.
A liberal is just a conservative waiting to have a great conversation.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Aw.
that. Thank you, Joy Vila.
Thank you.
Isn't she great? All right, so our next topic that we're going to discuss tonight is conservative values and the dangers of socialism. And I really would like to welcome to the stage tonight U.S. Congressman Andy Biggs. More popular than me. I love that. It takes the pressure off me. I like that. And I'd also like to welcome to the stage Arizona Senator Karen Fann. Thank you for being here. A microphone for you. Do we have two microphones?
We can share. We're fine.
You don't mind sharing?
We share all the time.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's nice. Isn't it nice when conservatives share?
Because he has a great wife, that's why.
Excellent. Welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening, first of all.
Thank you. It's
Of
great
course.
to be here. I feel like standing up. Can we stand up? Can we
If you
do that?
want to.
Can we stand up? You want to stand up? I think we should
Sure.
Because you're at the back. I feel your energy, right? It's fantastic.
Do you have anything you'd like to say before we dive into
No,
questions?
you lead us on.
Okay, excellent. So we're talking tonight about the dangers of socialism. And as we know, this has become, when I was a liberal and a Democrat, which was not so very long ago. Oh, boy. Arizona just gets better and better. When I was a Democrat, which was not so very long ago, we weren't even really talking about socialism all of that much. It seems like this is something that's happening very quickly. Am I right about that, first of all?
Yeah, you're very right.
Okay.
Look, there's been a slow movement for years, but now all of a sudden they've stepped on the gas, and you see it with AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashid Tlaib, and Presley from New York. They are setting the tone in the United States Congress today.
Could you answer the same question?
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, I'm the president of the Arizona State Senate, second woman in the history of Arizona. And very, very proud to be following into the footsteps of past Senate President Andy Biggs, who is now our great congressman. He was He has been my mentor for many years, and I'm trying very hard to emulate him. So it's pretty easy, too. He's a pretty good guy. But, yeah, so Andy and I will both tell you that, you know, when I was elected 10, 11 years ago, we had a super majority. We had 40 House representatives, Republicans, and 20 Democrats, and the Senate was 20 Republicans and 10 Democrats. And here it is 1 decade later, 10 years later, and we are at 31 and 29. One vote changes the balance of the Senate, of the House, and we are 17 and 13 in the Senate, so 2 votes. So this is why 2020 is so important for Arizona and for our majority.
So important. Can I ask, before we dive too much into the topic, did either of you ever identify as a Democrat?
No. What are you, nuts?
Not even a little bit? No. All right, fair enough, fair enough. No. Let's start with the simplest question on the topic. Why is socialism dangerous for America?
So if you want to know why it's important, look at Venezuela. Just about 20 years ago, Venezuela had one of the largest oil supplies in the world. They were developing it. They were one of the richest nations in Latin America, certainly, and one of the top 12 in the world. They elected a socialist because he promised them everything, right? Said, you can have everything you want. We're going to feed you. We're going to clothe you. We're going to give you health care. And he won. And things started going down. Within 12 months, their GDP dropped by 8%. He won again because he kept promising them. Then he won a third time, and he won a fourth time, and now they're eating their dogs. They've had millions of people flee that country. If we don't educate people on what socialism is and what it does and historically done, over time, we're going to be in big trouble. We're going to be fighting. We're going to be fighting for a long time to get back to free market systems. Free market systems have made more people affluent than any other kind of system in the history of the world.
And what is the first thing that our mothers and fathers taught us is nothing is free. You know, if you want anything in this world, you have to work for it. You have to contribute in one way or another. So the bottom line is anybody that's out there promise you things for free, promise you freedom for free, liberty for free, free cell phones, free health care, it's a lie. Because we cannot afford free. That's all there is to it.
That's good. Preach on.
Now, let me play devil's advocate.
Please do.
I will, because we're losing big time with young people on this issue. And I think it's understandable. Young people haven't had a lot of work experience. They haven't gone out into the workforce. They're not really saving for their retirement at this point. I don't think they really have a grasp on economics. So let's talk about some talking points. I mean, for instance, isn't it compassionate to offer health care to all Americans? And isn't it compassionate to offer guarantee housing to everybody? I mean, aren't we supposed to be compassionate? And isn't that what we should be doing?
Yeah, it's really compassionate when you put people and you create. Look, I'm going to make this really hard. When you create a demand, you create a demand. If I get something for free, you know what I want? More of that for free. That's what happens. So I like to think of it this way. You create so much demand for health care that you create a scarcity of the provisions, right? So you have a scarcity. That drives cost up. It becomes more expensive. And guess what happens? You get death panels in Canada and the UK because you can't provide all of the stuff that everybody wants for free. So a free market system is actually the most compassionate system because people who can afford to pay for it. And people who can't afford to pay for it, it's almost invariably donated to them. That's what happens because you become an affluent society. When you start taking out of your pocket, can I have your wallet? Yeah, Thank you. When you start taking out of the wallet of your neighbor,
my cell phone.
there we go. You start taking out of the pocket of your friend and putting it in your own pocket. He doesn't have it anymore. I got it. That ain't compassion. That's not compassion. Everybody can earn it, and if you can't earn it, people are going to. This is the most generous nation in the face of the world, in the history of the world. It's a great country.
Yeah.
We have great hearts.
Yeah.
We want to help out.
I don't know if I can add too much on that one because Andy is correct. Senator Biggs, or Congressman Biggs is thus, yeah, can we have that wallet? Yeah.
Socialists.
Hashtag. You know, and to compound that also, and add on what Congressman Biggs said, is that is part of the problem, and this is what's happened that, you know, many of us who have been around longer than 20 years and before us, our parents, our grandparents, we realized that what happened in socialism over in the European countries, what happens is all of a sudden you take away that ability and that drive to actually be productive, to actually excel at something. When all of a sudden the government says you're never going to go above this level, because guess what, if you do, we're going to take all your money away, we're going to take everything else away because everybody else has to be on the same level. What does that do? It drives down. It takes away your incentive, your drive to excel and be good in what you do, and then we all end up being mediocre.
So can I just add to that? Of course. So I won't take credit for this, but it's really true. I would rather have uneven distribution of incredible wealth than even distribution of poverty.
You know, there's this very peculiar coincidence that people who have actually left socialist nations and come to America don't seem to want socialism, but wait. But upper middle class white kids think it's a really good idea. Is there a reason for that coincidence, or, you know, I mean, I think it's a very appealing concept for people who come from wealthy parents, it seems, and pretty much nobody else. Let me ask you a question. Capitalism. Doesn't capitalism really only work for people who are already wealthy? I mean, what about, you know, the wealthy bosses and the CEOs who are making so much money and they're not paying their employees their fair share, and they're certainly not paying their fair share of taxes? How can little guys like some of us ever rise up in a capitalist system? It doesn't seem fair.
So I'm as old as dirt, and I can tell you something. When this country came around, it was one of the poorest countries in the world. We had nothing but natural resources. You know what we had? We had a system that allowed me to go and work and become self-sufficient and build and build. And we saw something that you hadn't seen in 5,000 years of human history. And you saw it within about 70 years. In those first 5,000 years, if you wanted to farm, you were using a stick. Most people walked everywhere. You were making your own clothes. You were worried about what you were going to eat every night. Within 70 years of freedom in this country, we became one of the wealthiest nations in the world. Why? Because individuals could take responsibility for themselves. The sky was the limit, and you could make your own choices. Socialism says, guess what? We're going to let you have a loaf of bread a week, a quart of milk a week, and it'll be the brand we choose. Freedom says there's going to be more supplies of bread than you can even imagine. There's going to be more brands of milk. There's going to be more brands of cars. There's going to be more brands of clothes. Look at what you're wearing tonight. Not even all of you are in costumes. And you get to choose what you wear. And that's what freedom does. You want affluence. You want everybody to get a chance. That's what freedom does.
And I'm going to add a little bit on that as well, because with socialism comes bureaucracy and regulation. So I will tell you, I started my highway construction company 35 years ago with $500. I could not do that today because in 35 years, the additional use of bureaucracy, rules, regulation, everything else has just totally squashed everything that anybody can possibly do. It is so hard to start a business. And this is why we need to keep Republicans, we need to keep capitalists in their places right now where we can expand that, where we can grow that, because the bottom line is if we allow the socialism to continue, as I said before, it's going to get tamped down more and more and more, and then all that drive is going to be gone.
Well, right on.
But I need to push back on both of you because I have to, because I'm not talking about socialism. I'm talking about democratic socialism. See, I'm not talking about the eat your dog Venezuela kind. I'm talking about like the Nordic countries that are super successful in their socialism policies. So what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, you're right. Socialism only works in the Nordic countries. And I encourage you to visit there and for a long period of time. No, look, when we start looking at this from that democratic socialism, I want you to understand something that's inherent in socialism. It is authoritarianism. Right. You must have a heavy hand of government to enforce socialism. Why is that? Because I like my TV. I like my clothes. I think I look smart. I want to make those choices. If you have socialism, it is the distribution of poverty. It suppresses. And when it suppresses, people get upset. And I have to enforce. Can I have that phone again? No, I'm just teasing. If he's not going to give me his phone, I have to have somebody called the government come in and take it away. Democratic socialism is just like every other kind of socialism. It requires authoritarianism to make it work. Freedom, and I don't think we should ever call it capitalism again. We should just call it freedom. Freedom is free, and it is choice. And we get to make those choices and live. And I just want to say one last thing, because Karen's example is great. Do you know how many regulations, a study was done on this, how many regulation goes into making a hamburger? Guess, just guess. Not too many is correct, but what? Maybe one regulation is too many even. 52, 157. You guys are so optimistic. It's not funny. Come on, be more cynical. 40,000 plus regulations. You're gonna have a sesame seed bun. You gotta have so many sesame seeds on the bun. You gotta have so many regulations to determine whether that's a sesame seed. You want a grade A pickle? The pickle's got to be a certain cucumber. It's got to be a certain size. It's got to be certain freshness. It has to have a certain kind of brine that it sits in. You want to have beef. All of that's regulated. All of this is regulated, and it's getting worse because now we have cow flatulence that we're concerned with. So there are even more regulations. That is the heavy hand that comes with socialism.
Yeah. It is just easier to eat your dog at a certain point. I mean, at a certain point.
I was going to keep this really short. Didn't I hear somewhere in the Nordic countries that their taxes are like 40, 50, or 60%?
Correct.
Or 70?
They also have much smaller populations than we do, and we contribute much more to their military than vice versa.
They're free riders.
Correct. All right, so listen, I think that some people would be very confrontational with me later if I didn't ask you some insider questions on what's going on in Washington these days. Am I allowed?
Yeah, you bet. Ask away.
Listen, we want to know, what do you guys want to know about I know you want to know about the impeachment. What do you want to know? Yeah, who's going to jail and when? That's the first question.
So who's going to jail and when? So as you might have heard, Mr. Durham has expanded his and converted his administrative investigation to a criminal investigation, and what that does is that allows him to subpoena witnesses, convene a grand jury, and basically issue charges, criminal charges. That hasn't happened till now. It's probably triggered, in my opinion, by the Inspector General Michael Horowitz. His report should be out. Could be out tonight. Could be out tomorrow. Any day. And he made only one referral for a criminal referral last time. That was for Andy McCabe for lying. This time, I would suspect that there are some people that a bigger list than that. Mr. Durham has been all over Europe at the origins of the Russian hoax. And so I imagine it. So I can't tell you who's going to jail. I can tell you who ought to be worried, a little bit who ought to be worried. So Brennan should be worried. Clapper should be worried. You see, he was a little bit, Mr. Clapper was a little bit concerned in his interview on TV the other day. Comey should be worried. Lock him up. Peter Strzok should be worried.
Yeah.
I don't think Lisa Page is going to be as worried as Peter Strzok. Then you've got Andy McCabe, who should be worried again. As someone said, I heard someone say in an interview today. He said the great thing about Andy McCabe is since he's at CNN now, he can cover his own indictment and hearing. So that's should work out well for Andy McCabe. And so this, and then there's going to be some additional people that you don't even know about, who are intelligence people who abuse their power. You cannot allow the police apparatus in a constitutional republic to abuse its power by attacking political enemies. You must have the rule of law. We haven't had it.
So I want to ask you, and I'm going to ask this in the most general terms because I don't want to put you in a position where you have to be overly specific here. But I can tell you, without even getting a consensus, I just know it as an American citizen, we feel oftentimes like the bad guys never see justice. Like there's never justice, right? Nothing ever happens to Hillary Clinton. Nothing ever, what's going on with the FISA warrants? Is the Obama administration, is justice ever, are we ever going to see justice?
Yeah, in the next life, when God judges all of us, that's when you'll see justice. That's the first thing. But I would, I would tell you, I also believe, and I'm hesitant to get your hopes up, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's some folks in the Obama administration that are going to have to face some really tough questions.
Including Obama?
I personally, look, the way intelligence works, what was happening there, that has to be briefed to the President of the United States in some instances. It just didn't happen. It either happened or they found a way for culpable deniability. We just don't know yet. These two, the report that we're waiting on is the Inspector General's. That, remember, is only limited to the FISA warrant abuse. Right. By the way, how many of you think that we should have a court that is non-transparent, not accountable, and the only people who see it, the only people who see that are the intelligence officers and FBI, and they go into the behind closed doors? It's not reviewed by the public to get their warrants. How many think that we should do away with that? Okay. Freedom! Okay.
What's going to happen to Adam Schiff? And who gets to do it? Because I want to toss my hat in the ring.
Yeah, well. Now, I want to be diplomatic here. I want to be an optimist about this. Mm-hmm. Look, here's the thing with Mr. Schiff. When we went in this past week, 30-some odd of us actually entered the room. We did so with the utmost amount of respect for the institution. We walked in, we didn't say anything. There's a big table there. Around the table are members of the committee. Now, this is a politician's way of saying, I don't know what's going to happen to Adam Schiff. Anyway, so the table's there, and Schiff is there. You got the witness there. And so we went in, and where we could, we sat off the table. We didn't barge into the table. We sat there quietly, didn't say anything. All of us have security clearance to be in that SCIF, that security room. The second thing is, Mr. Schiff himself announces every day to his committee, nothing that we're doing in here is classified. So we didn't blow up anything classified. So that was what they came out and said, that we were unruly and blew the classification. That's not true. It's all lies. I told someone today, hey, look, how long have you known me? Why don't you ask me before you believe the media? Right. Yeah, I mean, why would you believe the media? So we sat there. Mr. Schiff immediately got up, grabbed the witness, and they went and left the room. And then there was a Democrat who told us we should be ashamed of ourselves. I told her I am every day. I am every day. I feel shame every day. I'm a sinner. But then she started quoting Bible scriptures to us, which I thought was intriguing. You know, it was very interesting. She knew her Bible pretty well. And I sat there and watched, and then I didn't feel like I needed to engage, but somebody did engage, and before you knew it went, and then the Democrats all left, and we ordered 17 pizzas and got them brought into us. One of the Democrats actually came up and asked me to support one of his pieces of legislation. I'm not kidding you. I'm looking at it to see if I want to support it. And then another one said, Andy, how come you aren't chaining yourselves to the doors or something? I said, well, we're Republicans. And when we do civil unrest, disobedience, and we protest, we do things like order pizzas and Chick-fil-A. And we're all about comfort. We're all about comfort as we protest. So that gives you kind of an idea. So I don't know what's going on with Mr. Schiff. My motion to censure him failed, but it was party line vote, which I was grateful for. And we've got a few other things up our sleeves for this coming week.
We're going to go just a tiny bit over because I want to give each of you just a closing remark. But I do have just one last question on this topic. Can we count on Republicans in Congress to stand up for President Trump?
I will say that I feel more hopeful than I have felt since I got elected. And I wish I could tell you the first story of the first meeting that I went into as Congress, but I won't do that. Don't have time for that. But I will tell you, I felt so deflated at that first meeting about what President Trump had run on, what he said he wanted, and what our leadership was telling us we were going to do. And I thought, what the heck is that about? And I actually called my wife crying a little bit, and I said, I think I made a horrible error. This is a terrible mistake. The reality is we are more together than I've seen us be together. More together. Walk away. And I will tell you, the last thing is, on Lindsey Graham's resolution, which really gives you a barometer of where the Senate is, he's up to 50 signatories. I think he's got a 51st on the way. That means that there will be no conviction on the impeachment. And that's critical.
Senator Fan, can you give us any closing comments or any messages of hope going into 2020 that you'd like us to know?
I would, Brandon. First of all, thank you so much for being here. You are an amazing, amazing young man.
Thank you. Thank you.
He spoke at the AZFRW conference today at lunch, and the ladies just loved him.
As I say, I like a room full of rowdy women.
He does.
I
Let me
do.
tell you, he had it rocking and rolling. I would also like to say on behalf of Congressman Biggs and I, thank you all. Everything that you guys do are amazing, amazing. This is how we are going to win. This is how we are going to keep control of our House and our Senate in the state. This is how we are going to reelect President Trump. It's because you guys have it in your heart. You have that grassroots, that drive, and it's you that will be helping us knock on doors, that will be telling your neighbors, walk away, because we know where we need to go with this. And you know what? We have somebody that's really amazing that happens to be head of the Freedom Caucus right now that's going to be leading us on a national level.
Thank you, Senator.
So thanks, Karen. And she does a great job at the state legislature. And Brandon, thank you.
Of course.
For putting this together. Thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. You are why we do it. I don't get any authority except from the people that allow me to govern. I have no authority but what you delegate to me. That's the Constitution. That's what we believe in. So let me just tell you a couple things about what's going on, where we need your help. There will be, I anticipate, I'm talking with somebody about this. Are you tweeting this thing out, live tweeting?
I'm not.
Okay, anybody tweeting this out? Anyway, this has not been confirmed yet, but I've been told that someone's trying to organize an anti-impeachment rally in Washington, D.C. In the next month. That's critical. That is critical. President Trump loves this country. He loves the American people. He believes in you. But I can tell you this. I saw him this week, and I saw him last week, and he's feeling a little bit beat down because the Republicans were not fighting enough. And now we are. And the hope that you need to have is, I believe that if that election were held today, Donald Trump would win. I believe that the Democrats have overplayed their hand. They're lying. They're showing that they have no respect for this country, the rule of law, or you.
Right.
No respect for the people that elected Donald Trump. And Americans know that. I think the thing you need to know is we need all of you to turn out. The Democrats are motivated. They're going to turn out in a big number. We need to get as many people as we can to come out and vote for Donald Trump, because if you vote for Donald Trump, I think we can keep winning the tickets down the ballot.
Yeah.
And we have to do that because, as you know, as Karen said, the state legislature's in trouble. The United States Senate is in trouble. We've got to take that. And quite frankly, if you want President Trump to have a successful second term, Republicans, as lousy as we were 2 years ago, we need him back, because that lousiness was not nearly as bad as the lousiness of the House now. Do you realize that they've issued more subpoenas than they've had bills signed into law?
Wow.
That is astounding.
Oh my God.
So you know what? We're Americans. That's who we are first and foremost. We love our country. Let's stand up and defend this country. If we do it, we'll take it back. You can walk away, and as you walk away, you're walking toward not the light of liberty. That's it. The light of liberty.
That's it. Thank you both so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. With whom? Oh, from the audience. Yeah, from the audience. I didn't understand that. I'm so sorry. Come on back up here.
So there's this old movie.
Can I
Is
sit
this one
now?
working?
Is that
Yeah, you can sit
okay,
down.
all right.
There's this old movie, a Mel Brooks movie. Oh, you want it back? You never take a microphone from a politician. He's going to wrestle you. So this old movie, Mel Brooks, called High Anxiety, and he does a Frank Sinatra impersonation. You got to see it. That's why I feel like doing it, but I'm not going to do it. I don't have enough cord. I don't have enough cord to do it. Okay, I'll sit down.
Well, the first question, while we're getting situated, is Senator, are you coming back up with this? I made a mistake. We're doing a Q&A. Come on up. Come on up. While we're waiting for the senator, I'm going to ask the first question. Yeah. Will I be seeing you at the Unsilent Majority March on Washington on October 3rd of 2020?
There's a significant likelihood.
I love it. Good to hear. Thank you.
That's a politician's answer as well. There's a strong likelihood, Brandon.
Excellent. Are people supposed to approach this microphone with questions? Anybody who has a question, please approach the mic. It's right over here. We have sort of a saloon flapper superhero coming. Okay. Hello.
Hi. So my question is about election fraud.
Oh, yeah.
I was raised in the Valley, but I was gone for a long time. I've been back for 7 years. 20 years ago, almost, my daughter came and lived here for 9 months. And don't beat on me, she's a Democrat. And she registered to vote at that time. I've been back here for 7 years, and she's never gotten a ballot in the mail. And for this current election right now, she got a ballot. And I am very concerned that they are resurrecting old Democrat voter registrations. And what can we do about that? I wrote to the governor, and they said, go to the recorder's office. But our recorder is a Democrat, and if they're the ones doing it, that's the, chicken guarding the hen house, the fox guarding the hen house.
That is correct. So I'll take this one because it's more on a statewide level right here. So as you know, Arizona and the Republican legislative body for many years, including when President Biggs was there, we pass a number of laws. Every time we see some little loophole open up, We have two amazing people, Representative Kelly Townsend, Senator Michelle Ugenti-Rita, who are like right on everything that is going on with the election stuff. We kind of let our guard down here in Maricopa County, guys, right? We ended up letting them elect a Democrat. And not only did it start turning things around, did you guys notice all those little emergency voting centers that started popping up, right? So guess what? We are now shutting that down. Senator Vince Leach, yeah, he's awesome. Senator Vince Leach introduced some legislation this last session that we are dropping that down, where if there is an emergency, guess what? You have to sign upon perjury sign of what that emergency was, and it will be a criminal citation if you lie on it. I cannot tell you how important it is that when the opportunity comes up, all of you who live here in Maricopa County, we need to get a Republican, an honest Republican back in there. We also kind of messed up, folks, with the Secretary of State and the Superintendent of Education, right? So we have our work cut out for us to get that turned back around, because those are exactly the things that happen when we let the crooks in the office.
Testing 1, 2. First, I wanted to say to Brandon, I told you this privately, but I'm going to say it publicly. My hat's off to you. I'm the co-founder of the Greater Phoenix Tea Party, and we tried to reach young people and people with different, ideas and Democrats, and tried to get to those people. Not very effective at doing it. You've done a fantastic job. So publicly, I wanted to say thank you for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And basically, my question is what are your thoughts on how do we as Arizonans get to the younger people? I have a daughter myself. She used to be very patriotic, but now she thinks she's what's that word? It's not woke. It's more than one gender. It's I forget.
Non-binary.
Binary. And
Non-binary.
And anyway, just she just has a completely opposite philosophy, even though I pretty much raised her myself. And so maybe it's just she's 21. I don't know. Maybe that's the rebellion thing. But I'm just looking for a way, because my whole thing is if we don't get to the youth, we're in trouble. So if you three could just comment on how we would go about that, I would be all ears.
So first thing that comes to my mind tonight, Brandon, I just want to say my good friend Congressman Matt Gaetz would love to be here. Had he known. I didn't tell him, but had he known, he would love to be here.
I'd love to meet him.
I think what Brandon is doing is absolutely a critical messaging point. He can be the face in so many ways of a reach out to the young people. When I go in, look at me. I'm this old dude, and this old white dude, and that really, they've been indoctrinated to not trust an old white dude.
That's true.
Right. It's just, you're facing an indoctrination problem as much as anything else. Right. And so, I am so happy to see Brandon and so many of a younger generation that speaks a different language than I do. I mean, they just speak a different language, and I speak a different language. I mean, I heard Tyrus, whatever that dude is, the big guy. He was quoting somebody, a Democrat, who said some antiquated word that even seemed old to me, and he said that doesn't sit well with this generation. This generation speaks their own language. They have their own view. They live in a technological world that is foreign to old as dirt folks. So you have to work with that. So I would say social media is huge, and you have to have people who speak that language. And that's why I surround myself with young people, because I feel like a grandfather all the time. And it's good. But that's how you reach out. You have, and in my opinion, you have to communicate. You have to give them the narrative that they can understand. That's why I say, when I talk to young people, if I say capitalism, nothing. If I say freedom, okay, you're talking my language. Freedom means a little bit something different. But you know what? We can move that back to where it needs to be. When I say socialism, they think that's a marvelous thing. When I start talking about taking money from them, taking freedom from them, they think it's a bad thing. They don't understand that socialism. So it's the way you communicate, how you communicate, who communicates it, and that's what I would say.
And I'm just going to briefly say, you know, we've got some really amazing teachers in school districts in Arizona, but they're not all amazing. And so my word is school choice. Right? You know, if you happen to live in a district that maybe your local public school is not teaching the right values that you as parents or grandparents think is true, then start looking for an alternative, because that's part of the problem of what we have going on right now today is, you know, we are not teaching our kids the core values that we were raised with, and we need to turn that around.
I'm going to try to answer this in the simplest possible terms because it is a complex answer, but I'm going to just make it very brief. One of the things I'm doing with WalkAway is going into minority communities that I don't think that the Republican Party has done an effective job at connecting with and communicating with. We're doing town halls for the Black community, for the Hispanic community, for the LGBT community. We're doing the Jewish community in December. And every time I do one of these town halls, one of the promotional tools that I use to let people know it's happening is I go into the communities. I go into Harlem, I go into downtown Los Angeles, I go into District 14, which is where our Hispanic town hall is going to be, AOC's district, and I interview the people on the street, and I talk to them, and I ask them questions like, why are you voting Democrat? Have you ever thought about a different choice? What do you think about this? And you know what happens every single time? I'm shocked to find they're all willing to change their mind. They're all willing to change their mind. Every Black person I talked to in Harlem, every Hispanic person I talked to in District 14 was like, yeah, I guess I would vote for a Republican. It just didn't, you know, my parents vote Democrat and everyone I know votes Democrat. We just need to talk to these people. Nobody's talking to them. And it's no different with young people. And so to tie that together, young people are, what's the old phrase? If you're young and you're not a liberal, you have no heart. If you're whatever and you're not a conservative, you have no brain, right? Young people are all heart, and they all think that Republicans have no heart. We need to show them that we do. And one of the ways that we show people that we have not only heart, but the best ideas is talking to these classes of people that we don't connect with. And that's the best advice I could give. Start talking to Black people. Start talking to LGBT people. Start talking to Jewish people. You know? And show them that we care about these classes of people and that we think that we have better ideas that will make their lives stronger. I'm sorry, I'm going on longer than I thought I was going to. But because my biggest fear right now is not just what's going to happen with the future of America, but my biggest fear, they've already got these classes of people, the Democrats. They've already got they've got them so much that they take them for granted. They don't even care anymore. Now they're on to illegal aliens because they don't even care about the race minorities anymore. And Lord, tell me I didn't just forget my point. My biggest fear at this point is that these classes that they've taken for granted are now going to slowly start to believe that they have to be socialist. Well, I'm Black, so of course I'm a socialist. Well, I'm gay, so of course I'm a socialist. That's what they're going to start believing because AOC, and they're the only people talking to them. We've got to talk to these people. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. Keep up the good work with breaking up the big media, big education, big entertainment. If you can get through that, then you guys are doing great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have time for one more?
I just have 5 seconds, she told me.
Okay.
Before you guys kept going.
And you're done.
No, I'm not. So I just wanted to bring up a point because I'm a lifelong Democrat that changed during the Obama administration, and one of the key issues that changed me was health care. I pay $2,500 a month for health care for my husband and I, and one of my children who happens to be transgender. So if that guy wants to talk to me, I'm open to talking about it because it's way bigger of an issue than what was brought up tonight. Yeah. So I want to know what's going on in Washington to change what is going on with health care because it is a mess. And I'm also a therapist, so I bill health care. And I see we've got into catastrophic health care. We pay for catastrophic coverage. And nobody's talking about it, and I'm so frustrated.
Okay, this will take about 2 hours. So I'm glad you did. Who gave her 5 seconds? I just really want to know.
I was persistent.
No. Here's what's going on. So the Republicans blew it. Let's just be honest with you.
Yeah.
65 times when Obama was the president, the Republicans voted to repeal health care, Obamacare. 65 times. We couldn't even do it once when we had someone who actually signed that, and then we had a series of replacement measures that we thought would be beneficial. So there's a plan that I've been working on with some of my colleagues. I don't like all of it. I like about 80% of it. We can't do anything until we get the House back. The Democrats control it. I mean, you need to understand that. Elections have consequences. They just have the votes. They have 40 people more than we do in the House. So that means they get to do whatever they want. That means they get to control the rules. They get to control the vote on health care. They get to control whether we even hear a bill in a committee to discuss health care. And they won't let us do that. So what we're doing is we are hoping, anticipating that we're going to take the House back, and we're putting together a plan. So we are ready to go from day one with a new plan for health care. Because I can tell you this, there are so many people who tell me the same thing you just said. I pay $2,500 a month in my insurance premiums. I can't afford the deductibles. My deductible's $5 grand, $8 grand, whatever it is. You know what that is? That's no health care at all.
It's catastrophic.
Yes, no health care at all. Yes, catastrophic, really, that's all it is. And so the ACA has been an abject failure. And we're going to be ready to come in to replace it. But you know what we need to do? We need to get people out to vote and change the House of Representatives back to Republican.
And we all have to stop putting up with it.
Yeah, you can't put up with it. I mean, that's why the video that you showed was fantastic. The unsilent majority.
Yeah.
This is what you get when you're silent. Right. You get crappy health care, and you get basically no health care. That's what you get.
So thank you. My 5 seconds are way over.
Thank you both so much. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you. Oh, I'm terrible at sticking to a time limit. All right, so I'd like to welcome, okay, and I'm going to screw this up, but I'm going to do my best. I'd like to welcome to the stage now, Art Del Cueto. The Vice President of Border Patrol Council. Did I do pretty good? Yeah? All right. Thank you. And I would also like to welcome to the stage, please, Monica Yellen of the Trump Latino Advisory Board. Thank you both so much. The topic that we're going to be talking about tonight is immigration versus open borders. You know, I've developed a pretty large following in the last year and a half on social media. And every once in a while, I'll take a random poll, and I'll say, what is the issue that's most important to you going into 2020? What do you care most about? Overwhelmingly, immigration. This is something that Americans care so much about right now. And, well, let's start there. Why do you think this is such an important issue for Americans going into 2020?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. Before I keep going, I would like to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for giving me the opportunity to be up here and talking to you guys today. I had to throw that one in there, because they don't let me say that at government institutions, so I take the time to say it here every time. So one of the things that makes it important is, for too long, people have not been informed of the truth. And what I mean by that is, and even still today, they still don't get informed of the truth. You see the media rolling with all these pictures of kids in cages. Mm-hmm. And that simply is not true. That was going on during the Obama administration, and it stopped under the Trump administration. Right. But they like to throw that on there. And even under the Obama administration, you really didn't have the kids in cages. There were detention They were detention facilities that were temporary detention. So they were there for a maximum of 3 to 4 hours. They were getting screened and everything like that. So it's important because people need to understand that going into this election, we need people in Congress that really care about the United States. We don't need individuals that are actually taking political positions and they don't care for the American people. And that's something that I continuously see, and it's frustrating. And, you know, I represent close to 17,000 Border Patrol agents across the entire country. Wow. And, I mean, even for me, it's a little weird because I'm here with you today, and, you know, just yesterday I was chasing groups of illegal aliens trying to enter this country. My knee still hurts because I got a bunch of choya stuck in it from chasing bodies. And it's frustrating because people need to know the truth that our borders are not secure. And not enough politicians are wanting to go see the truth. I'm glad you had Congressman Andy Biggs here because he's probably been to the border more times than I can remember, you know, and he keeps going and he keeps bringing more politicians down there to come and see it. But it's not secure, and these elections are important because we have to have people in there that actually care about securing our nation's borders. Arizona alone is responsible for close to 40% of all the drugs that are entering this country. U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized enough fentanyl last year to kill every single human being in the United States twice. Wow. And those are little things that sometimes don't get talked about. And individuals want to say that it's not true, and they want to concentrate on saying, well, we're splitting up families. No one is splitting up families. These individuals are splitting up themselves. They're breaking our laws. They're entering illegally. And I've said it many times before. I'm a Hispanic. I grew up, I wasn't born in this country. I was born in Mexico. And as a young child, my father was always a Republican. And I never had the talk like we spoke earlier. The talk that I had from my father was, you respect this country, you respect one flag, you have allegiance towards one country, and if the country we left was any better, we would have still been there.
Right. Right. Ms. Yellen.
Well, before I say what I want to say, I want to thank Chris, Liz, Suzanne, and I'm missing somebody else. Tammy, because thanks to them we have this event happening tonight.
Yes.
So we have a great team. A round of applause for them. I also want to thank a dear friend of mine. His name is Mike Abate. He's right in the back. He's the official videographer for Donald Trump campaign. So maybe in the future you hire him for your events. He's wonderful. Thank you, Mike, for being here. And what I wanted to say is, for me, as a legal immigrant, I came to this country 20 years ago. And for me, we legal immigrants are first. And all Americans, anybody who lives in this country, whether they were born here or they are like me, we need to give priority to us. And the President of the United States shared these ideas. He wants to stress that to everyone. And for us in 2020, it's very important that the community, the country, and everyone realizes. In that way, we can re-elect the president. So we can specifically work towards a good immigration reform. We need one as soon as possible. And we need to welcome immigrants to this country, but we need them to come the legal way. We don't want them to come through the back door.
Let me ask you a question about that, because I think that for many of us who were born and raised in this country, I will openly admit I don't have a fundamental understanding of what the process truly is that somebody has to go through. I know it's incredibly complex. Can you tell us what needs to be reformed about our current system? What needs to be improved upon? I'd like to hear from both of you.
Sure. What I believe that should be done is we need to open the doors in other ways. We cannot only have people coming here because they married someone or they have a family member sponsoring them. We need to improve the visas, the work visas. We need to open more doors to people coming here with work visas. And the most important thing, and it's a working process, the president has proposed an idea which is having a merit-based visa system. And this system will open the doors to everyone around the world based on their education. And it's not just being a doctor, an engineer, or you can be a plumber, you can have a vocational degree, and you can come to this country. That is, we need to start with that, and we need Congress and Senate to support those ideas and to support the opening of these visas, as well as securing the border. The border needs to be secure, and that's something that my dear friend here can talk about.
So you need to fast track some of these, the process. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. We've been seeing a lot of individuals that are coming across and they're asking for asylum. I'm not against the asylum. I think it's a process that's in place, and people should be able to come to this country if their lives are that much in danger in the country that they're at. The problem that we're having is everyone's claiming asylum. And they're seeing an asylum officer, not an immigration judge. So because we don't have enough asylum officers on the border, and there's so many individuals that are crossing illegally, okay? First of all, the process for asylum is at the ports of entries, and they're not doing that. I've chased groups for 5-6 hours, and finally when I catch them, they claim, well, I'm here for asylum. Well, why'd you make me chase you 5-6 hours if you were gonna claim asylum? You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And then the asylum officer, you say that to the asylum officer, and the asylum officer says, it's not up to me to make the decision, it's up to the immigration judge. So then they turn around and they release these people in the United States. And they make them pretty much pinky swear that they're gonna show up at an immigration judge.
Right.
98% don't show up.
Right.
Because 98% probably doesn't have a real claim. Now, the problem is the media will tell you, well, you know, that media will tell you that they do show up. Well, they do show up for their initial hearing. But the reason they show up for their initial hearing is because they're in custody. Of course they're going to show up. We're the ones taking them there. Right. You know, I mean, they have no choice but to show up. But those are some of the things that need to change. We need to have a process where our law enforcement officers and our border patrol agents and our customs and immigration officers that are seeing these individuals as they're crossing in, that are having the first contact with these individuals, we need to have a process where they can determine the ones that are true and the ones that are false. Because what's happening is it's blocking the entire system, and the individuals that have true claims are not even being heard. Because there's so much of a backlog in the court system.
I want to ask you a question, though. You know, let's for a moment leave aside the asylum cases. Let's just talk about the people who do it the right way, from beginning to end. What I hear time and again is that this process is endless, it is expensive, it goes on and on. People describe it as nearly impossible. Is that true, and does reformation need to come to our process for the people who are doing it the right way?
It is true. The process actually has improved a little bit for citizenship and green cards, but unfortunately, there are things that need to be changed. And what is upsetting to me and to many people is to see, I have a friend, for example, who married someone who had to go back to Guatemala to wait for his papers to get called from the United States Embassy in Guatemala so he can come to the United States and be legal and, continue his life here. While others are crossing the border and getting, assistance right away, getting free things and getting doctors and this stuff. And we have many people around the world waiting for years and years. So this needs to be improved. We need to stop the quota. We need to reduce that, and we need to expedite the process, and we need better systems. You are completely correct with that. And of course, they have to check, if you have illnesses, because when I went through my process, I have to be checked for illnesses. I have to be checked, my background has to be checked. They have to review my financial status and all kinds of things. And that takes time, we get it. But it is important to improve it, and we have seen a little improvement since the president got elected. Some people are getting the papers faster, but at the same time, because of all this influx of people, they are delaying courts and they are delaying all the line because of unfortunately, people encouraging them to come to this country.
And that's the main issue. So we can put the asylum and everything else on the side, but the reason for it taking so long and being such a hard process is because we have all these individuals that are cutting in front, that are breaking the laws, that are disrespecting our laws. That is what's causing the backlog with everything else.
Really?
That's one of the main issues. You have only so many judges out there, immigration judges, that are seeing some of these cases. So these individuals that are going about it the right way. I have friends in Mexico that have been waiting 12 years. They're doing it the right way, and they're waiting 12 years. Wow. And then I turn around, and I'm out there trying to enforce our nation's laws, and I catch individuals that have, you know, criminal records in other states. So, and I'm having to release them because they're claiming asylum. That's something a lot of people don't understand. So if I apprehend an individual that may have a warrant for something serious in some other state, now he's getting arrested by me here in Arizona, I'll call Tennessee, for example, and if Tennessee says, we don't have the money or the manpower to go extradite him, so that's the first process. Now the second process is he claims asylum, I gotta let him go. So I'm releasing a criminal into the United States. And that's part of the problem. When we have agents out there that are apprehending drug smugglers, and if they happen to have less than 400 pounds that they're smuggling into the country, and I'm having to release them in the United States because they're saying, well, they failed to meet prosecution guidelines, and now all the drug smugglers know I'll just cross 399 pounds and they're going to let me go.
Let me ask you one final question because we just are running out of time.
The buzzer.
Yeah. Real talk. We hear a lot of contradictory information in the news. How is the wall coming along?
So there is a lot of new wall being built, but at the same time, there's old wall that needed to be replaced that had been there for a long time. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where I have to say the bad part of it. Okay. Unfortunately, for us that live in Arizona, we have what's, and I always pick on them and I get in trouble for it. Before President Trump took office, I think I was investigated twice by Internal Affairs, and ever since Trump took office, I've been investigated over 100 times. So wow. Somebody keeps on getting upset with the things I say now. Wow. But we have the Tohono O'odham Reservation. That's over 60 linear miles with Mexico that they don't want any type of divider. And I'll be glad to take any politician and anyone that wants to go down there, and I'll show you how easy it is to cross into the United States illegally. If you can raise your foot 2 feet up in the air, you can come in. And that's an area that is very specific, obviously, in Arizona. And the majority of the drugs that enter the entire country are entering through that area right there. And that's where the problem is. You know, the walls, we as a National Border Patrol Council, we never asked for a wall, you know, from sea to shining sea. It'd be nice, but, you know, we're realistic about it, and we always wanted it in strategically placed locations. That way the agency can go ahead and place agents in the other strategic locations in order to intercept what's coming in the country.
Thank you both so much for your time. Thank you. And for our final panel for the evening, and then we'll kick off some music and fun, I would like to welcome to the stage Dr. Kelly Ward, the Arizona GOP chairwoman, and oh, y'all are making it tough. Ray Chornenky, the Maricopa GOP chairwoman. Did I say that right, Maricopa? Okay. Oh, Ray is not here. Good. More time for us. I mean, not good. But, you know, more time for us.
Hey, Ray and I have a great relationship because Maricopa County is so important in the 2020 election. It is in the top 10 counties in the entire nation that we have got to win to deliver for President Trump, to deliver for Republicans all the way down the ballot, and to deliver for us. So I'm glad to be here. I will work hard to represent Ray very well as well.
Excellent, excellent. So tonight we're going to be talking about getting people to the polls and overcoming GOP myths. This is a great topic.
Well, wait, I got to tell you my walk away. Okay, I got to tell you, I walked away all the way back in 1991. So, you know, I grew up in West Virginia. West Virginia, it has always been known as a very blue state, and I do have to thank Obama for something because he turned West Virginia red, so I was happy about that. But I registered as a Democrat when I was 18 years old because my whole family everybody was a Democrat. Both of my grandfathers were coal miners. They were hardworking people. My great-grandparents immigrated here from Hungary and from Poland. They were fleeing communism. And they lived really the true American dream. So they went to work in the mines, my family, because it was a job no one else wanted to do, but they wanted something better for their family. My mom and dad both became teachers. And my brother and I both became doctors. That is the true American dream based on what Thomas Edison said, which is, you know, every generation you work so hard because you want something better for your parent or for your children. And so when I was out of college, I went to work as an environmental chemist. And God bless anybody who's an environmental chemist, but that was enough to drive me to medical school, I will tell you. But the reason God had me there in that lab doing these experiments was because there were a couple of guys that were also in this industry who listened to Rush Limbaugh every single day. Yes. And when I first heard it, I'm growing up in West Virginia, talk radio wasn't big, I'll just say. Okay, and so I'm listening to this radio thinking, where the heck is the music? I'm here for 8 hours doing tests with these test tubes and pipettes, and now I've got to listen to this guy? And as I listened to him, first I thought, that guy's crazy, the EIB network and, you know, dittos and all these things. But the more I listened to him, the more sense he made to me. And if anybody's ever listened to him, you have to understand he does make sense every single day. And I credit Rush Limbaugh with my walk-away movement or my walk-away moment. Yeah, we didn't know what that was way back all these years before probably you were even born. But, you know.
I gave it a diagnosis. That's what I did.
Yes, and so, you know, he made me into the conservative Republican that I am. And I've never looked back. Now, if you read the Arizona Republic, you would never know that I walked away from the Democrat Party, that I ever felt some kind of other allegiance to a political party. But I'm very, very proud of where I am right now. And we do have to get people to the polls. Even if you don't identify as a Republican, identify as an American, identify as somebody who loves freedom, who loves liberty, who hates tyranny, who hates socialism, and get to the polls.
I think that we have Ray Chernenke here.
Oh, yay, Ray's here. Good. Hello,
The
Ray.
Maricopa
Hello,
GOP chairwoman. Hi. You too. Yes. Good to see you. Good to see you. So we're discussing the topic of getting people to the polls and overcoming GOP myths, which is kind of almost two different topics. Well, I think we have to overcome the myths to get them to the polls, maybe, or at least to get the result that we want at the polls. Yeah, so why don't I start off by asking you this question. What would you say is one of the most detrimental myths that exists right now about the GOP that we need to overcome?
That we're angry? Oh, let me, thank you. That GOP, members of the GOP are somehow angry or hateful.
Yeah. Can I ask you the same question?
Sure. You know, I never thought I would be on the inside of the Republican Party. Just so you guys know, if anybody out there knows me, and I know a lot of you do, you've known I've always been kind of a rogue, a renegade, who's been on the outside of the party, who said we need to move back to our principles of smaller government and lower taxes and personal responsibility and following the Constitution. And so to now be the chairwoman of the Republican Party of Arizona, only the second woman who's ever served in this position, it is quite amazing. And there are a lot of myths that we have to overcome. Ray's exactly right. We're not all old white men. I mean, you saw Matt Gaetz and company, including Congressman Andy Biggs, get attacked just yesterday because of their race and their gender and their political affiliation by people in the media and by people on the left. People have to understand that we are the party that believes in great opportunity for everyone, and that Republican ideas, when they are put into action anywhere in the world, the people prosper. And so we have to overcome that myth that we are only for the big guy, that we're only for the corporations, and we're only for the rich, because that is just another Democrat lie from the do-nothing Democrats who want to divide us. We have got to come together, just like you said. Talk to people. Talk to people in the grocery store line. Talk to people at Walmart. We are not all smelly Walmart people. I love Walmart. I mean, maybe sometimes I'm smelly, but you know, I think that you just talk to the people that are there, and as they see that you are a caring, compassionate person who loves our nation, who loves our country, who loves our freedom, that's going to resonate with them, and you are going to have every opportunity in the world to, you don't have to convert them to be a Republican. I would love everybody to register as a Republican, believe me. But everybody doesn't have to be a Republican. They just have to vote for what's right for our country, what's right for our children, and what's right for our future.
You know, agreed. What you said, Ray, in one word, hateful, right? Hateful. And I think what is so insidious about what the liberal media and the Democrats have done is they have created this entire narrative that this is a party of people that are hateful for any person who is different than what they are. And what I think is so dangerous and insidious about this is they've created this culture in which their lie appears to be true, because people look and they say, well, where are the black people in the Republican Party? Well, where are the LGBT people in the Republican Party? And you know what it is? Because when you're black or LGBT and you try to leave, your people of your own race or your own type say, where the hell are you going? Traitor, traitor. So a lot of people stay on the other side. It's not because of us that those people are not in the Republican Party. It's because they've indoctrinated and brainwashed all of the people of color and all the LGBT people.
And when I'm in groups and I'm talking to people, different folks, people of color, and I just talking, well, what do you think? Well, how do you feel? And we find out we have much more in common politically or whatever else. And then I say, well, I'm a Republican. Boom, the wall comes down. And 3 seconds ago, it wasn't there. And we were just talking. And all of a sudden, I'm a Republican, and that means I'm done with you. And that's the thing I don't understand. I wasn't raised that way. I'm a native of Central Phoenix. And we were never, ever, any of the kids I grew up with, we were never raised that way about, well, what do you look like? You look different than I am. Or you like that? Well, blech, and walk away from, walk away. No, we just didn't do that. It's really foreign to me, and that's exactly what's happened. Somebody started this lie, I believe, and I'll be darned, it's difficult to overcome. Let me just tell you real quick. My stepson, I raised my stepson, so he's my son, is in business for himself. He's a graphic designer, and he hires consultants and artists from around the country. I'm a Republican. He's not. He's really not a Republican. And that's okay. And he'll do work for some of my Republican causes, or some Republicans I know will hire him. He called me the other day and he said, you know that project that you wanted me to do? And it was a personal one for something I'm putting together. And I said, yeah. He said, can't do it. I'm sorry. First of all, you do not tell your mother no. But I pay.
That's true. That's true.
I'm paying client. And I said, what's wrong? I thought maybe somebody was sick, and he said, well, the artist that we hired out of Chicago found out you're Republican, and she won't do your work. Now, I've taken a lot of hits in my life personally. Nothing hit me like that. And I even said to him, can I call her? Not to yell at her. She doesn't know me. And it's gotten to me, when it's gotten to that level, something's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the hateful part is it's really hard to deal with. I can tell you that the left the left, and also some on the right love to hate me. I have gotten a lot of hate. Just this week, I got a letter from somebody from New York that took it upon themselves not just to send me an email, not just to give me a Facebook message, but to send me a letter in the mail to tell me how horrible I am because I said I wanted to stop Mark Kelly and his policies, his gun-grabbing, radical leftist liberal policies, dead in his tracks. And that is an idiom that's been used since for over 150 years, just so you guys know, stop him dead in his tracks. And I've been attacked. So I got this letter, and it basically said that I was a loathsome, horse-faced B-word, and that I just literally turned his stomach. Or her, I don't know, because I don't know his pronoun. And so, but I have never seen so much hate than what I see from the so-called tolerant left. And I think that Republicans truly are the party that loves people, that cares about people, that is charitable, just like Congressman Biggs said. We are the people that are giving back to society and don't expect that the government, bigger government, is going to take care of everything. Because just like Reagan said, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. That is not something that you want to hear.
So what do we do to begin overcoming some of these myths? What do we do? Oh, you're ready to go.
I'm ready.
Give it to me.
I'm ready. We talk to each other. I'm the chairman of Maricopa County Republicans. Can I brag just a sec?
Yes.
I do this all the time. I'm sorry. You're going to hate me later. Maricopa County is the 4th largest county in the country. Now, again, talking from Republicans, in 2016, Maricopa County delivered more Republican votes in the presidential election than 11 states in this country. Okay, ready for this then. Right now, Maricopa County is the largest Republican voting county in the country.
Yeah. And we want to keep it that way.
So why didn't Maricopa County go totally Republican in 2018? We got to talk to each other. We need to just talk to each other. And as we talk to one another, we just need to go to the grocery store. And we just need to say at church, the priest at my church is talking about something, and he says, I can't be political from the pulpit because some of us are those godless Republicans. I'm sitting in church. How am I godless? And my first reaction was to stand up, and of course, I'm still too coward to do that. It's a big place. My second reaction was to walk out. I've done that, but then I just give it to them. If we walk out, if we quit, we just give it to them. So my third reaction was, as soon as that service was over, I turned to the people in the pew that I didn't know, and I said, did you hear that? Did I hear that about Republicans are godless? And they just kind of looked at me. Of course, nobody knows each other. And I said, would you talk to me about that for a minute? Because that really got to me. And pretty soon we had 15 people sitting there. Everybody else had cleared out of the church just talking about, we've really gotten intolerant with one another. And I said, it's the name calling that hurts really bad for me. And we just talked. So here comes the kicker. They're all going, we're ready to go. And they're going, this is good. I need to be kinder to my Republican friends. And I thought, oh, Lord, don't let them ask me. And somebody said to me, you're not Republican, are you? And I said, hey, I'm Republican. Draw the sting. Hey, I'm Republican. Look at how well we were able to do this together. And everybody smiled, we hugged, and we left. And that's how you do it. It's not going to happen with TV ads or me knocking on your door saying, I'm from the Republican Party or you're going to vote this time. Not going to happen. It's just, I'm your neighbor down the street. We've got some issues that we care about. What do you think? and then listen to each other. Just listen. And I think that'll do it.
Dr. Kelly, I do want to give you the final word. Just very quickly before we wrap up, I want to say I'm sure many of you are familiar with Scott Pressler. Is that my mic?
I don't know whose. I turned mine off.
Okay. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Scott Pressler. Am I correct? Yes. Okay. One thing that Scott Pressler says time and time again is that if every one of us registers just 5 new voters between now and 2020, the Democrats won't stand a chance whatsoever. 5 people. That's it. Between now and 2020, let's all make a vow to register 5 new voters. That's all we got to do to make a big difference. Final word.
Check, check. Oh, okay. So I was going to say, basically along that line. So many of you know I'm a physician. I'm a family physician. And when I was in my training, one of our mantras was see one, do one, teach one. And that's what we have to do. We have to see people who are out there living our principles. Then we have to go do it. And then we have to teach somebody to be able to do it as well. There are 1.3 million registered Republicans in Arizona. There's 1.1 million Democrats, 32,000 Libertarians, 6,000 Greens, and about 1.2 million independents or people who haven't decided what party they're in whatsoever. Just like you said, Brandon, there are people that are willing to change. There are people who are willing to listen. There are people who are willing to learn, but they have to learn about it from somebody that's willing to start that conversation, who's willing to show that love, who's willing to show that compassion. And I know each and every person in this room is ready, willing, and able to do it. I'll tell you that we have got the data to be able to tell you who to go and meet inside your own neighborhoods. In 2018, one of the reasons we lost is because 207,000 people who voted for Donald J. Trump in 2016 did not come out in 2018. And it was devastating in Arizona. We lost multiple statewide races, from the Senate to the Superintendent of Public Instruction to the Secretary of State to a corporation commission, and we let our legislature get too close for comfort. We have the information. Get with us. Become involved with the Republican Party. And if you don't want to become a Republican Party precinct committeeman, become a Trump committeeman who will work to be able to knock on these doors. We'll tell you who's moved into your neighborhood, who shares our values, who shares our ideas, who understands that life is valuable, that understands our right to protect ourselves, that understand that we want educational freedom so that our children are successful. And we'll send you to their door so you're easily able to register 5 people between now and 2020. I'd love to see you do 1 every single week, but hey, I'm greedy sometimes. But you guys can see that I like to talk. I like to talk fast, but I can't talk to every single person who has moved into Arizona who needs to register to vote. I need you. We need you. So please, please, please get involved to keep America great.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you, Brandon.